What's going on, guys? Welcome back to our tutorial world here on the Bedrock edition, as you can probably tell by my skin, which I've managed to get back. I didn't mention it in the last video, but yeah, I just couldn't find it. It wasn't loading before, but it's the skin that I'm now using on the Bedrock. Today's farms that we're going to be looking at is a very simple 2-high flower automatic farm, which is ridiculously simple, which is how comes I've decided to combine it with a secondary flower farm, which I'm going to show you both of them working now. Now this first one's very simple. You've got the 2 high flowers. Obviously you should know this by now if you've gone die hunting, is that when you use bone meal on any of the 2 high flowers, they'll then produce the 2 high flowers. So just like that, and you'll get numerous of them. Each one's individual rather than having all hooked up. So if you just need yellow dye, just go to the sunflowers. If you need red dye, then you go to the roses. Just turn them off, and then I believe I think one's lavender and one's peonies. One produces purple and one produces the magenta dye. I think the peonies are the ones that create, yeah, it's peony. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. That's pink dye. And then the other's magenta, the lilac, not lavender. Yeah, magenta. But yeah, let's quickly jump into these. This one is a shifting floor design. It's very simple. You just switch it on. There's a automatic bone meal dispenser underneath, and then it just shifts the floors, kicks up all of the flowers, and you've got to be really careful as to where you place this, because obviously flowers that grow are biome specific. Trying to switch it off, I need to make that a little bit more accessible, but yeah, you sort of gather how it works. Unfortunately, it's a manual collection system. You can link it up to have a hop and minecart underneath if you so wish to. But from this one, in this area, we're getting the oxeye daisies, the poppies, the dandelions, the bluets, and a absolute ton of seeds. Now, I didn't realise this, but in the Bedrock edition, you do get these mini ferns that grow, but I'm not sure if you can harvest them or not. I've tried using shears, but that doesn't work, but I'm not sure if that's because I was using them in creative and it was just breaking them. But yeah, I'll have to test that out in a minute. But let's quickly jump into the tutorial here. For the 2 high flowers, like I said, this one is ridiculously simple, which is how comes I've combined it into the 2 separate flower farms. So we've got the observer blocks, we've got some dispensers, building block of choice, and we've got some lever levers. Now we just want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 with our building block of choice, 4 dispensers, and then 4 more blocks up top. 1, 2, 3, and a 4. Now obviously below, you can use dirt for this, but obviously for cosmetic choices, we're going to go with grass. Just like so, and then we want to get our 2 high flowers. Unfortunately, you are going to have to go out hunting for these at first. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then let's get them back off of our hotbar. And then for the clock, we're using our standard little observer clock, so let's just make them face into each other, and then you're going to want the back of them facing into the building block of your choice, which is sitting above the dispensers, just so that you'll start getting that annoying ticking. And then we can switch them all off like so. And then from here, it's very easily accessible to fill it with bone meal. Let's get some bone meal actually, so we're going to need that as well. And then we could throw them. That's 1, that is 2, 3, and a 4. And then whenever you need the dye of your choice that these 4 provide, you can just come along and do that. Now obviously with the yellow and red, you can make the orange with, but I don't know how you make certain dyes. I know that with the shifting floor design, if you built that in a swamp, you'll get the orchids, the blue orchids I think they're called, and they create the light blue dye. Getting black dye, and you get light grey dye from the bluets, I believe. Why am I going to the chest? The oxeye daisies also produce the light grey dye, which ain't a bad thing. But yeah, that's that first little mini farm tutorial. I'm going to quickly jump in and show you how to make this one. Obviously, I've made this one here a little bit back to front because the redstone is disposed on one side when it shouldn't have been. It should have been done on this side, but that's very easily reversible. It's just because I ended up doing the little hopper clock on the back. But we want a 5x5 area of grass, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2, 3, 4, and 5. Is that 5? 2, 3, 4. Yes, it is. Then we just want to break out the center block and want a dispenser facing directly up at us, and then we cover that back up. Now this is a little bit finicky because we're going to have to get an observer in here. So break that, break that, break that, and we want to get down one lower just so that we can face an observer facing up into the grass itself. And then we want to get our blocks back there, and then like so. Then we want to get some redstone dust on us. Run that just underneath, going into the block that's underneath the dispenser. That way, each time that the observer is activated, it will send a signal to the dispenser. As you can hear that ticking. So each time the floor shifts, it will send a signal automatically to this words to the dispenser. And then with the dispenser, it's easily fillable if you just run some hoppers over to it. And again, I'm building this backwards, by the way. I'm just building it the same as I have over there. So yeah, run hoppers over to the dispenser and then get out of the creative menu. We want to get a couple of chests, just throw them out the front, and then you can fill this with bone meal to save you having to keep on digging up the ground to fill up the dispenser manually. Now either side of this, really, again with the creative menu, we want some standard pistons either side, so we want a row like that, and then we want a row one closer. So I'm just using that as a scaffolding block at the back. And then we want to get our building block of choice. Just going to wrap them around the back of that. Wrap these around the back of that. And then we want our standard little hopper clocks. It's not really a hopper clock, it's more of a... It's meant to be a hopper timer, but it's pretty much just to receive and send a signal. It's the same sort of timer thing that you get, or the clock that you get from the observers facing each other. Except for this one's a lot more easily switched off in this build style. So get out of that. And then we want a couple of comparators, a couple of repeaters, and we want our redstone dust back. So a comparator just either end of the hoppers, repeater coming off of them because the signal strength isn't going to be nearly as strong enough to actually send off these pistons. And then you just want to run the redstone around along the building block of your choice that's running behind the pistons, just like that. And then on top of the hoppers, you just want your building block of choice with a lever lever on top. Now let me just make sure which way this is going to end up facing. Okay, so it's always going to be facing that way by the end of the cycle. And then you want to get your building block of choice just to tidy it up, and we want to just run that around there. And then we can do the same for this side. So that is pretty much it. So when you send this on, the floor should start shifting. And then each time it shifts, the observer's reading the signal, sending the signal to the dispenser, which will then dispense the bone meal, which we have yet to put in. And once again, there we go. And then just to tidy it up, you can, say, whack a few blocks there. You can actually just whack this in your base underground if you're using a little sort of man den or whatever sort of build style you're going for. We're just going to throw some steps at the front just so that we climb up on top. And then let's make some room on our hotbar. Let's get some more bone meal. Just like so. Throw that in, that'll feed through to the dispenser. And then we're just going to hop up here actually to save us getting shifted around on the floor. And then when you switch it on, that should all start growing, and we're getting the oxides, the dandelions and the poppies all from this area. Now, if you're lucky enough to find a flower forest biome, you'll get a lot more flowers. You'll get all the different colours of tulips as well as the alliums, and I'm not too sure what other flower types there are. But this one here is only creating them 3 types of flowers, which isn't too bad because the oxide daisies are quite useful in making the banners. And you got the light grey from the bluets, you got the yellows from the dandelions, the reds from the poppies, And then you can make orange and whatever other colours, what other flowers are there? We have got, yeah, if you find a flower forest biome, you'll get the dandelions, poppies, the bluets, the 4 colours of the tulips, which is, I don't like the fact that the white flowers create light grey dye. I think only one of them should create light grey dye, one of them should probably create grey dye, and then one of them should create white dye as an alternative from bone meal. But yeah, that's just my opinion on the matter. Um, Black ink is always a pain to get because it requires creating some form of a squid farm, and they can be a little bit tedious. But for today's tutorials, I think that's going to do it, and hopefully you found it useful because, yeah, flower farms, in case you need dye, they're extremely handy to have. These 2 designs are very compact and quite easily fit into any sort of build style regarding the sort of block palettes that you use around them. They look quite nice, just tucked away in corners, just an extra feature of your base should you actually need dyes. And with the concretes and the coloured walls that you can use for different sort of decoration purposes, they're extremely handy to have on hand. But that's going to do it for me today. Hopefully you found this tutorial useful, and I'll hopefully see you in future ones, and goodbye. See ya.